As the first negative constructive speaker, I will begin by challenging the phrase terminally ill, since it seems to be the center of most of the policies that are out there for euthanasia. These policies, most of them, they say that if a patient is eligible for physician-assisted suicide, if their consulting physician deems them to be terminally ill. The problem with this is that terminally ill is a very hazy term, and there's no solid definition for it. Some people state that it means that death is expected within 6 months or less. Some laws define it as a condition as one from which death will occur in a relatively short time. And also when he spoke to the National Press Club in 1992, Dr. Jack Kevorkian said that a terminal illness was any disease that curtails life even for a day. Clearly, if these sort of policies were put into effect, the phrase would need to be clarified and defined. And it goes without saying that it would spark a great deal of controversy, and nothing may even be settled on. This would be very problematic because terminal illness is kind of the main qualification for active euthanasia. With that issue aside, I'll challenge the affirmative significancy claim. The argument the affirmative made was that people have the right to die on their own terms. However, as we have seen in past court cases, the United States Constitution does not protect the right to die. As written in the book Death and Dying by Jeffrey Rhodes, the 1990 Cruzan case, which was the only case involving death, dying, and the right to privacy ever decided by the Supreme Court, nor any other case established an absolute right to die, or the right to end one's life in a manner one sees fit. It continues, the only right or liberty that the so-called right to die cases have established is the right under certain circumstances to be disconnected from artificial life support systems, or as many have called it, the right to die natural death. The second argument they made was that terminally ill patients have the right to end their own suffering. It's also argued that by denying euthanasia, people are being forced to suffer. That's not what this ban is in place for. According to the International Task Force on Euthanasia and Assisted Suicide, people often claim that laws against euthanasia and assisted suicide are government-mandated suffering. But this claim would be similar to saying that laws against selling contaminated food are government-mandated starvation. This also ties into the affirmative inherency claim. Like they said earlier, it is a felony in the state of California under Penal Code Section 401 to either aid, advise, or encourage another individual to commit suicide. Again, this law is in place not to cause terminally ill patients more harm or suffering, but to help them. Again, as stated by the International Task Force on Euthanasia and Assisted Suicide, laws against euthanasia and assisted suicide are in place to prevent abuse and to protect people from unscrupulous doctors and others. They are not and never have been intended to make anyone suffer. Another problem with suicide is that it affects the lives of everyone around you, from family to friends to the doctors who put so much time and effort into trying to ease your pain. It's also considered to be a sin in many religions, like we heard earlier. In his memorandum in July of 2004, Pope Benedict said that while the Church exhorts civil authorities to seek peace, not war, and to exercise discretion and mercy in imposing punishment on criminals, it may still be permissible to take up arms to repel an aggressor or to have recourse to capital punishment. There may be a legitimate diversity of opinion among even Catholics about waging war and applying death penalty, but not, however, with regard to euthanasia. Finally, some of the policies in different states that are currently in place, I think there's a better way to help terminally ill people, and instead of legalizing euthanasia like they have, we can start improving our society by creating programs for the terminally ill. As Dr. Michael Manning writes, I believe the evidence leads to the conclusion that we must not legalize euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide. Instead, our society should mobilize a life-giving healthcare system that includes compassionate care for the dying and human comforts near the end of life, as well as widespread education about the right to refuse burdensome medical care. He continues, we would train our physicians properly in managing death and rein the aggressive cure-oriented care that our hospitals seem incapable of not pursuing. And there's another fear that was expressed in the book, Death and Dying. And I quote, in the face of these gross deficiencies in terminal care, assisted suicide can be seen for what it is, a quick fix solution to a deeply complex and systematic problem. I fear that assisted suicide will serve as another excuse not to provide the care that the terminally ill deserve from our society, and it's for these reasons that euthanasia should remain illegal.